Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to my Friday Facebook Live. If you don't know me, I am Sarah Chatello from Paper Crafts. I can't talk today, just be forewarned. I help you find your confidence and creativity through stamping, and I'm also an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today I have three, count them, one, two, three projects for you guys. They are all super easy, super quick, but they cover all three levels of Stampin' Up! Stampers. So there are three levels. The first is a beginner stamper. This is somebody who's either never stamped before or done very little. We call it simple stamping for you. And then there's also casual stampers who you've dabbled in stamping. You have some of the things, maybe some punches, maybe some papers, but you're not quite into throwing the kitchen sink at the cards yet. And that's the avid stampers who have everything, know how to do all the things, and throw the kitchen sink at the project. So I have three projects for you guys today, one for each of those categories. But first, let me find myself on here. Go ahead in the comments, tell me about your weekend. What are you doing this weekend? I am doing wedding stuff. If you can see, I have boxes. Between Christmas and planning this wedding, my room is getting filled up very quick. I also have fancy hair today. I forgot about it for a second. I went and got my hair done today, so I'm feeling good. Gonna have a good weekend. It's gonna be cold here in Michigan, but that's okay. It's the middle of December. I'm ready for the cold. Everything's being slow today. I'm going to go ahead and share this to my VIP group. If you are not in my VIP group, that is the place to be. I go live there every single Sunday. I will be live there this Sunday talking about what we're going to be doing for the upcoming week. So if you're not a part of my VIP group, go ahead and click the link in this description. And if you're watching the replay on Facebook or maybe on YouTube, hello to you too. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Trying to get my things together. Here we go. All right. So I am all set. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn off my camera. Oh, but before I do that, I have a little giveaway. So this is the Mint Macaron Soft Velvet Ribbon. I showed this last week and used it in my project last week. If you didn't catch that, go ahead and watch the video from last week. Where I use this ribbon. The winner of this ribbon is Wendy McFarland. See, I can't talk today. But Wendy, I will be sending this out to you tomorrow. So let me turn my camera off and show you guys my desk, and we will get started on our project. And I hope I don't go away again like I did last week. Let me do that. Last week I hit the wrong button and everything went away and it was terrible. Ha, there we are. Let me just fix that so you're not seeing my floor. You're seeing what we're working on. So here are the three cards we are doing today. So this is our beginner card. Very simple, but still really cute. This is our casual crafter card and our avid card. So we're going to start with the beginner card. And I have my supplies right here. And after this video, there will be a post with resources with all the products and everything I've used. So this is thick basic white, and that's all we're going to be using for this project. So a beginner stamper doesn't really have lots of things. So I tried to keep this really simple with just taking a sip, as Stampin' Up! Says, which is stamps, ink, paper. So you're going to need a thick piece of basic white cut at 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. Then a layer that is 4 by 2 3/4, and then another layer that is 3 1/4 by 2 1/2. We're going to take that 3 1/4 by 2 1/2 and the super cute Perfectly Plaid stamp set that we've been talking about all week. And I'm going to go ahead and get this stamp out and a D block, and that's all you're going to need for this is a D block. I have 2, so I'm going to be using 2. But you don't need to. So I'm also going to get the Merry Christmas stamp out. And then just one ink color for this. This is Shaded Spruce. And I'm just going to very lightly ink up my stamp. I'm not pushing really hard. I'm just tapping. And I'm going to line this up on my grid paper. You don't need grid paper, but I recommend putting something down, copy paper, something just to protect your table, your desk. And I just centered that one. On this one, I didn't. I wish I had the. So then I'm going to take and ink up my tree. I'm going to center that. And then I'm going to clean off my stamps. And you do need something to clean your stamps with, whether it be the Stampin' Scrub and the Stampin' Mist like I'm using, or the simple chamois, Simply Chamois. I don't know anything about that because I've actually never used that. But from what I understand, it's kind of like a sponge. Like you get it wet, you put it in a Tupperware or a stamp case, and it basically does the same thing as this. I haven't used it though. Maybe I should, just so I can tell you guys about it and what I think. I love my Stampin' Scrub and I would never leave it. So, and then for the inside of my card, you can also use your D block for this. I just grabbed that little realistic looking pine cone. And then what I use for the inside, this sentiment that says, may this special season be wrapped in love and joy. So I'm just going to keep out my shaded spruce and get my card base that I put right here. And I'm just going to stamp the inside. So I'm taking my pine cone, like I said, I'm not pushing too hard. I'm just gently tapping. And I'm going to put that little pine cone down in the corner. And then I'm going to ink up my words here. And I put it on the block kind of crooked. Let's see if I can stamp it decently straight. That looks good. And to see that little pine cone, how realistic it is, almost like a picture. Super cute. So we are done with the stamping for this card. I am going to clean off these stamps quickly though, so I don't ruin anything or get ink on my fingers, which I do quite often. And then we will put our first card together. See that this one was super quick. And I still think it's very cute, even though it's more on the simple side. So I'm just going to take the piece I stamped on and some seal. I'm going to flip it over and run the seal along the back. I like to go to the as far to the edge as I can. And then I'm just going to put this on my grid paper so it's kind of straight. And I'm just going to layer that. We call this a mat. And then I'm going to take, and you can also get dimensionals for this. But I wanted to keep it simple and use as few products as possible. So I'm just going to use the seal again and put that right in the middle. And on this one, I did use dimensionals, so you can see the slight difference. This one's popped up a little bit higher than that one. And for a finishing touch, I went with the cute star adhesives sequins, and there's a black, orange, and like a purple iridescent one. This is meant for Halloween, but I'm a rebel, so I'm using this iridescent one and just putting that at the top of our tree. So that is our first card. Our second card is for the casual crafter, and it is this one. And I used the punch here, so casual crafters tend to have a little bit more supplies, but it's all basically the same card. We're just stuffing it up. So for this one, I have another piece of thick basic white cut at 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. And then I have a piece of shaded spruce cut at 5 1/4 by 4. And then a piece of basic white cut at 5 by 3 3/4. This is a scrap piece that we're going to be using. And then I have another piece of shaded spruce cut at 3 3/4 by 2.5, and a piece of basic white cut by 3.5 by 2 1/4. And see, they just kind of layer on there. So this is for our stamping. We're going to do our stamping first. Again, with the shaded spruce, that's what I'm using on all the cards today. I just wanted to go with one ink color, kind of keep it simple. And I need my piece of basic white that is 5 by 3 3/4, and then just a scrap here. So I'm going to get my D block again. And this plaid tree is what we're using this time. And I went with Ho Ho Ho. for my sentiment. And sometimes the photopolymer ones are tricky, so what I like to do is line them up on my grid paper and put it down. That way it gets even placement on there. So I'm just going to take my plaid tree, ink that up, and stamp on my scrap paper. And then I'm going to take my sentiment and I'm going to go towards the bottom. Not quite all the way to the bottom, but towards the bottom. And I'm not rocking the stamp. I'm just straight down, straight up. And then on the inside of this one, I did a little technique. So this is another reason why it's for a casual crafter. So we did 2 techniques on the inside. I'll show you that in 1 second after I clean off my blocks. So I'm going to get this realistic looking tree, put that there, and then a sentiment for the inside. This one is hoping your busy year comes together in Christmas cheer. And I'm going to move that out of the way and get my card base. So the technique I'm using here is the stamping off technique. And you can see I tried it this morning. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ink up this tree and place it there in the corner. And without re-inking it, I'm going to go on that side. Then I am going to ink it up again. And I'm going to stamp on my grid paper. There's a little line or something in it, so I'm going to fix that. Stamp on my grid paper. And then there's a little bit ink left on there, so I'm going to kind of go in between to give it like a off in the distance tree look. And then I'm going to take my sentiment and the next thing we're going to do, we're done with stamping, but the next thing we're going to do is another pretty cool technique that I actually found out about not too long ago, but I've been loving it. So I don't know if you've ever seen like splatter stamps. I know we have a couple of current stamp sets that have the splatters in them. The ones that I think of are retired, but like Gorgeous Grunge had a cool splatter stamp. Geared Up Garage had like an oil slick one. This is a way to get that splatter effect without a stamp. So what I have here is just a piece of copy paper, and I've torn the corner off of it. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this down, and I get some room here, and lay this down and kind of have my tree showing and a little bit of the side there. But I'm going to cover the rest of the card. And then I have the light smoky slate Stampin' Blends. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to flick some ink from the tip of the marker into the cap here. And I'll show you. I know it's probably hard to see because this is such a light color. I got to move down a little bit to get it where I want it. And I really like this technique because to me it looked like snow. And this does not hurt your marker. So now I move my copy paper. I'm going to get it out of the way. And you have a cool splatter effect. I just really liked how that looked. So now we can put our card together. So I have my panel here. I'm going to put onto my shaded spruce piece. And like I said, at the end of this video, if you're on YouTube, it will be in the link in the description. But at the end of this video, oopsie, I got ink on it. That's okay. We're going to go with it. I will show you the resources that I was mentioning. And then I'm going to take this Whisper White. See, I don't know where that ink came from, guys, but it might be on my fingers. We'll never know. I'm going to take that layer on, and I'm going to grab some dimensionals, flip that over, and put a couple, probably 5 dimensionals on the back of this panel. And I'm going to place that a little bit higher because I'm going to cover that up. And then I'm going to get my scrap paper and the pine tree punch. And I'm just going to line it up. Kind of hard to do without getting my head in the way of the camera, but I'm going to line it up the best I can and punch it out. And then I'm going to take a dimensional again, just one this time, and put it on the back of that tree. And just kind of center it in the middle there. And then I have somewhere some gilded gems. Did I lose them? Wow. Nope, there they are. Found them. Hiding under the stamp set. And there are three sizes to the gilded gems. I'm going to go ahead and use the small ones. And I'm just kind of randomly placing 3 of them. And then we can place, I'm going to go over here though, because I think there's still ink there somewhere. Then we could place this on our card base. So that is our second card. And this one's a little bit higher than this one, but you know what? It's all good. So last is our Avid Crafter card. So this card, like I said, kind of throws the kitchen sink, but uses pretty much all the same products. So I have a card base here, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. Just going to take my bone folder and burnish that edge. And then I have a piece of shaded spruce that is 5 1/4 by 4. And then a piece that is embossed of basic white that is 5 by 3 3/4. And that was embossed using the Stampin' Cut and Emboss folder. This is the Evergreen Forest 3D folder. It looks like this. Hopefully you can see that. The detail on it is amazing. So I had to use my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine for this. And the number 1 base plate and the number 4 plate on top of that. And then I have another piece of shaded spruce that is 2 nope, that's not right. 3 3/4 by 2.5. And then a piece of white that's 3.5 by 2 1/4. And this little guy is for our sentiment. And this is cut at 2 1/4 by 1. And then I have a piece of the brush metallic in gold that is 2.5 by 1 1/4. And they layer on each other. So this one has a little stamping. We're going to do that first. So I'm going to get the Merry Christmas stamp out and that realistic looking pine tree. Again, grabbing my D blocks and my shaded spruce. I'm going to ink up the sentiment first. And I like to line it up on my grid paper so I can get it as centered and even as possible. Looks good to me. And then for the tree, I'm going to do that technique that I just did on the Casual Crafter card. So I'm going to take and place a full solid image tree right in the middle. And then I'm going to go off to one side. And I'm going to ink it up again. Stamp down here. And go off to the other side. And I'm kind of going at different levels, like heights. Because I really want it to look like a forest. There, that looks good to me. So that is not it for the stamping, I don't think, because I have to do something to the inside. So let me clean my stamp. because I need the D block again. I'm just going to take a little more Stampin' Mist. There's a wet side and a dry side to the Stampin' Scrub. And you can tell because there's little indicators in each corner. And then I'm going to get out that Christmas cheer stamp again for the inside. And you could also do this technique again to the inside of the card with the tree. I did it on this one. I'm going to ink that up. Find my card base. There it is. I don't want to get too close to over here because I'm pretty sure that's the culprit of how we got shaded spruce on the first card. Clean that stamp again, and then we are ready to assemble it. These cards are pretty quick and easy, so I think they'd be good if you have last minute cards to send out. It's getting kind of close. That's also something I forgot to mention, that this will be the very last card of 2021, not card, last Christmas card, Sarah, of 2021. So next week we are going to be doing something different. And if you'd like to get a sneak peek, a little preview of what we'll be doing, go ahead and join my VIP group to find out all about it. So I just took some seal on the back of that and placed it on that brushed metallic gold. And then I'm going to put some seal on the back of this guy and put it on our shaded spruce. Then I'm going to flip it over. And towards the bottom, I'm going to put a little bit of seal, just enough to hold this beautiful gold shimmer ribbon. I'm just going to stick that there, wrap it around, and stick it to the back. It's a little bit long, but that's okay. And then I didn't use seal for that. I used dimensionals. So I'm going to take some dimensionals. And don't forget about your outer pieces. Those are also two-sided stickies, and I use those when I run out of dimensionals on the sheet. And so then I'm going to take my embossed piece, and I go kind of up a little bit. I want that embossing to come through. I'm going to take two more dimensionals on the back of our sentiment. Place it there. And then I've already made a bow out of that gold shimmer ribbon. And this is what I call a faux bow. Because you make the bow, you cut it, take a glue dot, place it down. And then we are ready to put this onto our other layer, and then we can put it on our card base. So let me know what you think of these cards. Which one is your favorite? What kind of crafter are you? Are you a beginning crafter, avid? Are you a casual crafter? Do you like to do simple stamping? Let me know. And then to finish this card, I'm going to grab some more of these gilded gems. And like I said before, they're in 3 sizes. So this time I'm going to use all 3 sizes. And I'm going to put them in different spots this time. I like being different. I very rarely make the same card twice. And that is our Avid card. So let me get my other ones again. There was our casual card. And our beginning card is somewhere. Here it is. And our beginner card. So let me know which one was your favorite. And if you want to see me live again, I will be live Sunday in my VIP group. Go ahead and click the link in the description to join there. And I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. I will see you next time. Bye.